Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello, my name is Rachel. And today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I read in September. Before I get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe, and yeah, let's go. I'm going to go in order from lowest rated to highest rated. In September, I read 12 books. A handful of these were audio. Yeah, a good bit of these were audiobooks, but a lot of these I did read physically. Only one of them I actually read off of my shelf, so that's not great of me, but nonetheless, it was still a great reading month. I didn't have anything below 3 stars, which is really nice. Kicking us off at a 3-star is In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. This is a dark academia thriller about it's kind of centering around a college reunion, and it's going between 2 timelines, when our main characters were in college and what happened then, and then what's happening during the reunion as we're reading the story. And we're following our main character Jessica, who is full of secrets, and as she comes to learn, so are all of her friends. And the main catalyst of this is when they were all in college, one of their good friends, Heather, was murdered, and the murderer was never found and or convicted. And so Heather's brother basically gathers all of Heather's friend group together during this college reunion and tells them, one of you did it. And it's a really good time. I was sucked in. It wasn't really riveting. If you like campus settings, dark academia vibes, I wouldn't call this dark academia, but it does have those vibes, especially with the college flashbacks. So if you like that kind of setting, you might really enjoy this. Next up, I rated this like 3.75, but you round it up to a 4. It's Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste. I listened to this on audio, and I'm really late to the party getting to this book, right? Like, everyone read this like years ago and loved it. And I get why. There was a disconnect to the characters for me. I don't really know how to describe this book either. It's about a lot of things. It's about class and race and privilege. And it's about people thinking that they're good people when they're not. It covers a lot of things, and it's kind of slice of life in a way, and I really liked it, but there was just something that disconnected me from fully engaging with the characters, and I don't know if it was the writing style or what, but I think it is a really important book with really important stories, and I want to watch the Hulu adaptation of it too, because why not? We're already getting into the 4 stars, which is great. So the first 4-star that I read in September is Notes on an Execution by Danya Kukafka. This book I was really excited to read, and the only reason it's not a full 5 stars is very similar to my feelings on Little Fires Everywhere. There was a disconnect from the characters for me, and that might have been on purpose. So what Notes on an Execution is about is we are following this convicted serial killer who is on death row, and we are counting down to his execution. At the same time, we are kind of getting his story from these 3 important figures that were in his life. So we learn about his mother, we learn about his sister-in-law, and we learn about the female cop that helped track him down and convict him. So there's a lot of stories woven in here. We get a lot of backstory, both for him and for the women in his life. I think the execution I think the execution of this book is really well done. I don't think it could have been written any differently, but I am learning that I'm a very character-driven reader, and I not only need to know a lot about the characters, that I need, I don't know, more emotion from them. There was a slight lack of emotion in the connections I had with these characters. I was fascinated by this story. Notes on an Execution was a solid 4 stars. I just needed a little more from the characters. Another 4-star I read was A House at the Bottom of a Lake by Josh Malerman. A House at the Bottom of the Lake is this fairly short novella, and it's about 2 high schoolers that fall in love over the summer, and they go canoeing. There's a lake, and it connects to another lake, and then they find that there's a third lake, and there's a house at the bottom of that lake that they then dive into the water and explore. And it's like a haunted house in the lake. And this was really, really fun. I would have given this a full 5 stars. I did not like the ending. The weird thing is, I love an open ending, but this was a little too open. I felt like there needed to be just like maybe 2 more pages. It could have still been an open ending with like 1 more page. It just did not feel quite finished, even by 1 sentence. But I would still recommend it. I mean, I've never read kind of a haunted house story in the water, and I loved that. I want more of that. Another 4-star is Dark Harvest by Norman Partridge. I just talked about this in my Halloween reading wrap-up round 1, or whatever I've titled it. So go check that out if you want to hear me talk a little bit more about it. But this was a really fun novella with all of the Halloween vibes, and it's about this small Midwestern, real small town in the 1960s, and there is a ritual that every Halloween, boys from 16 to 18 must go out into the streets to hunt the October Boy. And the October Boy is this kind of Halloween monster. It's kind of got like this scarecrow body and a jack-o'-lantern for a head. It's got candy stuffed all in him. And basically the boys have to kill the October Boy. This was really fun. I had a great time with this book. The writing style did throw me at first because it alternates between second person and third person. And my little brain just did a couple of little wait, what's while I was reading it. But I think that this would translate really well in audiobook form. But as it stands, I had a really good time with this. The Halloween vibes were very much there. I mean, how could there not be with a jack-o'-lantern headed monster with candy running through its veins? Like, it is a Halloween book, and it was so fun. My first 4.5 star that I read was the audiobook for Leave the World Behind by Ruman Alam. And I know a lot of people really do not like this book. And I really liked it. I really, really liked it. I was on a road trip at nighttime, driving basically through the woods, listening to this book, and this book takes place during a power outage. And when you're in the woods at nighttime driving, it is very dark, and it really added to the ambiance of of reading this book. So that definitely upped my rating because I felt like I was kind of in the story, which was terrifying and unnerving. So this book is about your standard mom, dad, sister, brother family going to stay at an Airbnb. They're on vacation. And it's a nice Airbnb. It's got a pool. Anyway, the family is staying at this Airbnb. And then the owners of the Airbnb, a couple, man and a woman, knock on the door and they're like, hey, there's been a huge power outage in New York. This is our house. We know you rented it. Can we come stay with y'all? It's about this one family and this other family staying together, working through issues of race, working through issues of class, their different life experiences during the end of the world. This book is about the end of the world, and nothing happens. And I get why people don't like this book because nothing really happens, but I loved it. If you read it, know that nothing happens. Know that it's not a thriller. It's not a suspense. It's just what it is. The thing that I absolutely loved about this book and the reason that I rated it so highly is because it unnerved me. It unnerved me because this was the most realistic depiction of the end of the world that I've ever read. Not that I read a lot of like apocalyptic novels or anything like that, but like if I were in any of these people's shoes, I wouldn't be doing anything differently than they did. It's like as they realized big things were happening that they couldn't change or affect, they were just like, well, let's have a beer and let's just talk, because what are you going to do? And that's why it was so unnerving. I was like, this is so realistic. And ugh. It bothered me. It stuck with me. The characters, not so much, but just the feeling of the book, I don't know. It really stuck with me, and I really liked it. I really did. I really did. The next 4.5 star read that I had was The Burning Girls by C.J. Tudor. I read this on my Kindle. This is my second book by C.J. Tudor, and I really liked it. I think I liked this more than the other book I read by her, which is The Other People. This book is a kind of a suspense book. I wouldn't call it horror. But it does have like horror elements to it. The Burning Girls is about this, what's it called? Not a pastor. What's the word? Not a reverend, a vicar. We are following our main character, Jack, who is a vicar, and her daughter. They move to this small countryside village for Jack's job. She's going to be kind of the interim vicar at this church. And there's a legend of these burning girls that were martyred back in, like, during the witch hunts of the time, like hundreds of years ago. These girls were martyred, and there's like this legend, if you see the burning girls, then something bad is going to happen to you. And of course, Jack and her daughter see the burning girls, and bad things start happening, and secrets are uncovered. And this is a good time. If you like the vibes of Midnight Mass with a little less of the horror aspect and a little more of just the vibes of the location and less the material that it covers, I feel like you would like this. Just like the creepy church, the townspeople with secrets, long family historical lines, kind of ghostly apparitions. Like most of this book is like rooted in reality. There's a little bit of supernatural, but yeah, this was a good time. I definitely want to check out more from her now that I've read 2 winners of hers. The next book on my list, I couldn't decide if I wanted to rate it a 4, 4.5, a 5. I don't know. I'm leaning towards a 5, but I don't know. Anyway, that is The Last House on Needless Street. This is the only book that I read this month that I actually owned, that actually came off of my dear beloved shelves. This is by Catriona Ward. I got this in my very first Nightworms book box, which was so exciting. It's one of my favorite horror subscription services that I treat myself with every once in a while. But I digress. This is another book I don't really know how to talk about because it could spoil a lot. I'll just read this. I'll read this to you because that'll ensure that I don't spoil anything. You know, I'm not going to read this to you. Yeah, don't read the flap. The flap might actually spoil just a little something, like things that, you know, you might find out fairly soon, but, you know. Basically, we have The Last House on Needless Street. And in the house, we have a man, Ted. His name is Ted Bannerman. He lives in this house with his cat, Olivia. Along with Ted, we also are following Dee, who lost her sister when she was very, very young. And Dee is determined to find out who kidnapped her sister. The reason I love this book so much was not for the plot twists. I enjoyed this book because of the characters. I was so invested with the characters. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, you also are told the story from the perspective of Olivia, the cat. So we have those three perspectives in here. The characters in here, I was so invested in, like every single chapter. It's the characters. It's the characters that did this for me. This was really good. I really liked her writing. I loved her character work. That is what did this book for me, was the character work. The pacing I thought was really good. When I wasn't reading this book, I was craving reading this book. It felt complete when it was over. Like I wasn't like needing more. It was just really well executed for what it is. I do recommend this book, especially if you are a character-driven kind of person. While it looks like the kind of book that would be mostly plot-driven, this really is character-driven. And yeah, good job. Good job, Miss Ward. You did good. So the first 5-star that I read is Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Seanan McGuire. This is the second book in the Wayward Children series. So this book follows our main characters, Jack and Jill, who are pressured into certain stereotypes by their parents. When on the inside, Jack and Jill they both are like internally fighting against these stereotypes. And the way the Wayward Children series works is that when children are unhappy and not accepted as who they are in their own homes, a doorway will open for them, much like Alice in Wonderland, Chronicles of Narnia kind of deal. And they can walk through the doorway and be in a world that does accept them for who they are. So in the case of Jack and Jill, the world they kind of find themselves falling into is this gray, Moorish, kind of spooky world. I mean, you can probably tell by the cover of this book that it's kind of like, ooh. And yeah, in this world, they are accepted as who they are. But there's also, evil. This book was so beautifully told. I love Seanan McGuire's writing. I love her horror. And I love her fantasy, and I want to read more by her because she has yet to disappoint me. The character work is great. The descriptions of the scenery, it's so atmospheric. That's why I love this book. The audiobook for this is narrated by Seanan McGuire, and I think she does an excellent job really bringing the characters to life in that way. And there's so many lines in this book that just spoke to me, and I think I'm going to love the rest of the series too. I'm so excited to read more. 5-star number 2. Hello, baby. The Hellbound Heart. I read The Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker. I read this for a couple of reasons. 1, never read Clive Barker, always wanted to. 2, I love the movie Hellraiser. I wanted to kind of read the source material. The Hellbound Heart, if you don't know, is a classic novella by Clive Barker written in, I want to say, the 80s. It's a psychosexual horror with some body horror, and it's about this man, Frank, who, I have nothing in my hand. Frank is he wants to experience the heightened sexual pleasure that is promised through this puzzle box. And if you solve the puzzle box, then the gates of desire are open to you. What really happens though is basically the gates of hell are open. It's about the bridge of pleasure and pain and about selfishness. Yeah, 5 stars. The next 5-star read I had was the novella 1922 by Stephen King. I read this because I very loosely took part in the Losers Club readathon in September, and this was the group read, and I was like, even though I was massively failing on my TBR for that readathon, I was like, you know what, I might as well listen to the group book. So I got this on audio, and excellent audio. Definitely recommend checking that out. But this is about a man who lives on a farm with his son and his wife wants to sell the farm so they can move to the big city, and he doesn't want that, and he convinces his son to help him murder his wife. This is about the ramifications of his actions. It's about loyalty. There's a lot of rat symbolism And by symbolism, I mean there's a lot of rats. I love rats. I'm not scared of rats. This book made me quite horrified of them for the time that I was reading it. I really enjoyed this book. It's about, like I said, loyalty and family. Somehow, I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did. I am excited to watch the adaptation on Netflix for this. I have not seen that yet. Okay, final book. The final book. Okay, we're almost done, y'all. We're almost done. I read Rosemary's Baby by Ira Levin. 5 out of 5 stars. Absolutely loved this book. I knew the story because I've seen the movie quite a few times, and I knew I liked Ira Levin's writing because I have read Stepford Wives and really, really enjoyed that as well. I was not expecting to enjoy this as much as I did. If you know the movie, it's a really, really, really well done adaptation. So if you like the movie, the direction it goes, read the book too, because you will get what you're wanting. His writing is phenomenal. His commentary is fantastic. This is a fantastic read. So if you don't know, Rosemary's Baby is about our main character, Rosemary, and her husband, Guy. They move into this really nice flat in New York, and Guy is an actor, and Rosemary is wanting a baby. And they have some weird neighbors, Minnie and Roman. Rosemary experiences strange things. Rosemary gets pregnant, and her pregnancy might not be the magical experience that she was expecting it to be. I love this story that has such good commentary on how women are treated in society, both out in society and inside their own homes. It's about setting boundaries and following the boundaries that you set for yourself. It's also about motherhood. I think Ira Levin is quickly making himself one of my favorite classic horror authors. And I want to read more of his to see if that stands. So all in all, this was a very exciting reading month. I continued on in a series. I am solidifying some classic horror authors that I've wanted to get to, Clive Barker, Ira Levin. I'm excited to read more from both of them. Looking back over this list of books makes me really happy. I'm so happy with this reading month. And I'm really excited about the books that I'm going to get into in October. I hope y'all had a great September. I hope y'all are having a great October. And yeah, I have a great day. Have a great rest of your week. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more of my content. I talk about spooky things a lot. I talk about not so spooky things sometimes. And I trying to balance the tables more, but you know what? I'm just going to talk about what I'm reading and watching and doing, and we're going to have a good time. So thanks for watching, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye!